What's up, my friends? We come back to See It, a show about movies and stuff. This is my summer movie review. I'm talking about the best, the worst, everything in between that happened this summer. And I am so excited to talk to you about so many of these movies. This has been the best summer that I can remember since probably 2016, 2017. It's been a while since I've had this much fun at the theater and even at home. My top movies, just for a little bit of a spoiler alert, my top movies this year would have been my top five movies last year, and definitely any year during the pandemic. So, a really strong slate of strong films, excellent films, and then some really enjoyable films across the board. The box office was kind of weird, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. But for the most part, we had a really good time. Let's go ahead and jump into it because I have so many movies to talk about. I will say that the comment section is open. I want to hear everything you want to tell me about your favorite movies, your most hated movies. If you disagree with any of my assessments, if you've seen some of the movies that I haven't seen, you think that they should be on the list, please let me know. I am open to it all. The comment section is open both on YouTube and Facebook. So please feel free to participate. Let's go ahead and jump into what I actually did miss. Now, I saw a lot of stuff. I saw 35 movies during the summer movie season, which is the beginning of May to the end of August. So I saw most of the heavy hitting movies. I missed some of the smaller films, and to be honest with you, some of the films that I heard weren't that successful anyway. Some of the films that I actually feel bad about missing because they may have made a list. First one being Blackberry. Blackberry's directed by Matt Johnson, starring Glenn Howerton, Jay Baracho, and Sung Woo Cho. This is the story about how BlackBerry first came made, and this pocket email creator was the sensation and the buzz of the news world, the business world, you name it. And I've seen BlackBerry on quite a lot of lists in terms of being the best of the summer or being in the top five of the summer. So it may have made my list. I wish I could have got to it. Just didn't have time to get to it. Other movies that I missed, I wish I would have saw and that probably would have came into play. Passages is a really kind of like sexy, complicated movie that I heard is excellent. It's Ira Sachs is directing, starring France Rogalski and Ben Whishaw. It's an international film, but it is in English, and I just hear that it's just very much the thing that I should have saw this summer. It definitely isn't a summer type of movie, maybe more of a fall type movie, but I wish I would have saw that. Sympathy for the Devil, just because I'm a Nick Cage stan and I watch everything Nick Cage. There's not much that he makes, even the bad movies that I can't find something to enjoy with. I heard that The Lesson was really good by Richard Grant. So there's movies on here that I wish I would have saw. Definitely Back on the Strip with Wesley Snipes. I wish I would have saw that. I didn't see Sound of Freedom, no matter how much money that movie made, it just didn't interest me because of some of the things surrounding that film. Missed a lot of the Netflix and Hulu movies, but hey, I hit most of the big ones, and we're going to talk about them right now. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time beating up movies because I know just from friends who are in the industry, the amount of love that a lot of people put in these projects, but some movies are just unforgivable. And these are the films that I think were my strong skippets. They just didn't really make any sense. Hypnotic, which is a movie that I was looking forward to quite a bit. It was just a little bit too. What's the word I'm looking for? It was too. It tried too much for the budget it had, so it did not look good, and the story was just convoluted. Complicated. I didn't like it. Ben Affleck was good. The twist that they had was interesting. Um, I'm trying to make sure I have this right. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is Robert Rodriguez film. I was pretty sure it was him. Um, uh, contemporary and friend of Quentin Tarantino. He obviously knows how to make movies. He's done from everything from Dust to Dawn and Once Upon a Time in Mexico and those types of films that I loved. And I was really looking forward to this. He made this in his small studio in San Antonio and really did the thing that he could. It was probably the most disappointing movie to me because I thought this could have been one of the best movies of the summer just because of who was attached to it. It just did not land for me, unfortunately. Fast and Furious franchise has been bumbling for a while. This is probably the most convoluted movie they've had in quite some time, and how they just continue to just throw their own lore out the window. That was very bad. Retribution very much seemed like a factory movie for Liam Neeson. There's not a lot of physicality on his part, but it's basically Speed in a car with your family. The movie Speed, and it just doesn't work. Heart of Stone was atrocious. Haunted. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I want Gal Gadot to get better parts, better script. She's supposed to be in Cleopatra next year. We'll see how that goes. She needs to be in better movies. Haunted Mansion. There was so many mistakes in editing. Everything from them calling characters by their the actor's real name, that being making the script, and that making the movie, to a lot of issues with makeup and hair, and it just seemed cheaply made, quickly made. Like they didn't really care about this film. They didn't. They knew it wasn't going to be Pirates of the Caribbean in terms of making a movie after writing. Hell, it wasn't even Jungle Cruise. It was a really, really messy film. And Meg 2 just lacked all of the great things that the Meg had in it. So 6 films, which really, when you think about it, 6 films in 4 months as strong skip-its, that's not that bad. So not everything's going to be successful. I'm not saying that the directors didn't try. I'm not saying the actors didn't try, the technicians didn't try, but it was ultimately, in my view, just wasn't for me. So if you see these on any streamer and you're looking for something to watch, I have some better things coming up. Then I had like these 9 films that were just kind of fine. They were all right. They're meh films. They're okay. I want them, if they came on TV and I was over somebody's house watching it, I wouldn't be upset and actually change the channel. They're not disappointing to the point to where they're offensive or they're a complete waste of time. I just wouldn't seek these out, even in streaming, if I have other things to watch. This would be Transformers: Rise of the Beast. It was fine. It was a fun movie. Maybe not for my age range, which is fine if I'm not the target audience. The people that when they're in a theater, the children really had a great time with this film. The Flash just missed too many. The more and more I thought about The Flash, the more I didn't like it. The last voyage of Demeter, the characters did not get a chance to really develop, so you didn't care who lived or who died, which is the worst type of horror film to me, even though it has some strong performances in it. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It actually wasn't a skip it. I think I saw it said stream it, but it was a low stream it for me in terms of, for those who don't know my rating system, it's see it, stream it, or skip it. So there's that. What a hard year for horror, specifically this summer. The Boogeyman I was looking so forward to, and it just did not deliver for me. There were so many silly decisions that they made with this film that I just could not get with. Ruby Gillman, T.H. Kraken, they had a chance to really gain a lot of, make a lot of money if it was good, because Elemental flopped so bad, but it was just so average looking. It was like I don't know, it's like something that would have came out 15 years ago for me. That's for me. Extraction 2 has a lot of the same issues that the Meg 2 has. It's a much more successful film. You have some really great action sequences that are like 10, 15, 20 minutes long, almost to the level, I think a lot of John Wick Chapter 4 with that film, in terms of there being some really successful and really believable action sequences filmed, and that's because they have a person who got their start in stunt work directing this film, and it really shows in the film. It's just that the story was so, I had no other word but boring. Like, I just didn't care about anybody like I cared in the first one. The first one wasn't like, it wasn't Die Hard or anything, but it was still something that can grip you. Gran Turismo looks really good. The story I just didn't care about it. But it looks really good. Neil Blomkamp knows how to make a good looking film. I'm glad that he's back working. I liked David Arbor in it. I liked the kid who played the race driver. It's just that the story, it probably could have shaved about 10, 15 minutes off this movie and it'd have been a much better film. And Insidious just looks cheap and convoluted. So, man, if they come on, I'm over a friend's house. I'm probably talking through the film, but I'm not mad that the film is on, right? Once again, my comment section is open both on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, I would love to see your comment section below. Do you think I'm wrong on any of the bad films, to put that in quotations just because they just weren't for me? Do you think I'm wrong about any of these films? I know that there are people out there who go to bat for Transformers. They'll go to bat for Flash. They'll go to bat for Teenage Kraken. I don't know if they'll go to bat for any of these other ones. They'll go to bat for Gran Turismo. I had some family members who told me Gran Turismo was excellent for them. They loved it. They're not even into racing. And good for them. You know, there's an audience for film somewhere for somebody, and that's fine. But if you want to defend it, put it in the comment section. Now we're getting into some really good fun movies. And I call these movies couch movies. They're movies that I would seek out to watch at home if I'm sitting on my couch. I think that they're a good time, or at least an interesting or fascinating watch, even though there may be issues with it, either with the story or the pacing or the effects or you name it. But I like these films. Elemental, I seem to like Elemental a lot more than others. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent. The people I was in the theater with, the children especially, they seemed to gravitate towards it, which I didn't think that they would, because the story is a little bit more adult than you would think. You know, you have this romance basically that's budding in the midst of this immigrant story. But Elemental, it was fine. It was fine. It had issues, but it was fine. Joyride was a little disappointing for me because I wanted this to be the best movie of the summer. But it was funny in parts. It dragged in others. All the actresses were great. Master Gardener is a slow burn. It's a fun movie to watch and dissect. You think it's going one place at the end, but that's not the ending that they give you. And I always like movies who do that, and they do that well. And Master Gardener is probably, as I look at the list, number one or two best movies on this couch movies list. Blue Beetle, it reminds me a lot of, talked about like Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, or Agent Conan Banks. It's like a lesser tier Nickelodeon type of superhero film, and it was fine. It looked better than those, but the story was good. They did not shy away from telling immigrant story. They did not shy away from calling out racism and different things that's happening that's very nascent to the world we live in, while giving us a decent superhero flick. It just kind of devolves into what we see in every superhero flick. There wasn't really creative in terms of the ending. Bad guy fights good guy. I long for the endings like we got in the first Doctor Strange film that was really creative, or even in Thor Ragnarok, or there's ways to end these films that are different than what we've been getting. The Batman that came out last year, I thought that was a really creative way to end a film outside of just the bad guy facing off against the good guy, right? So there's that. Take it how you will. The Blackening, I had so much fun with The Blackening. I really did. My issue with The Blackening is Tim Story, who directs, has done some really important black films in terms of the zeitgeist from the last 10 years. I'm thinking about the barbershop movies and so forth that he's been involved. He's worked with Ice Cube a bunch. The Blackening script was very thin at times. It seemed like they were just doing stuff to do things. And I feel like the reason it felt like that is because the times you felt like it was dragging, that it was kind of getting boring. And this is a very quick film. It's a very quick film. 80 minutes, I think, is what the actual watch time is. Tim Story is not I guess what I'm trying to say, Tim Story is not a horror director, and he did not seem like he was interested in the horror in this movie because it's outside of the first real horror scene that kind of reminds you of Saw. The horror is pretty bad in this movie. Granted, the characters are great. I love the whole college friend dynamic. It reminds me of my college friends and the different um, types of people that make up these types of friend circles. From I don't want to get into too many of it, but it was pretty good. Uh, angry black girl, the angry black girl and her monster was okay. Little Mermaid was really good. Little Mermaid was really good. It just wasn't great. So, couch and movies. These are movies I'll start. These are movies I will watch. Okay, for Brian Knows movies, movies that almost had me. They almost had me. I almost thought that these were great films. I almost would have had this in my top five, top 10 of the summer. But they did some stuff I just could not get over. And let's start with Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is technically and masterfully done. It's well acted. It's well cut. It's well edited. The music and the score is tantalizing. The story, the way that Christopher Nolan builds suspense and anxiousness within the film is great. Even the political intrigue towards the end of the film that folks didn't like, I thought was actually kind of interesting. The issue I have with this, and I haven't read the book that Oppenheimer is based off of, so maybe the source material just didn't give them space to do this, but the fact that there is a minimization of voices of Native American peoples whose land was stolen to build Los Alamos, to the testing site and the community that surrounded it. That you don't see any Japanese people whatsoever in this film, when the only people who've ever been killed by atom bomb are Japanese people. I think that that was a big misservice to the story that excluded voices that should have been heard. Now, I'm not even saying that they had to be these huge center points of the film. The center points is Robert Oppenheimer and his issues of morality and how he's trying to wrestle with his own morality while making this engine for disaster. I get that. I get that it's trying to delve into the lot of the hysteria with the Red Scare. I get all that. But I'm thinking that for the Native American story, they could have put in like a 30-second part of the montage where you're actually seeing these Native Americans being displaced and they're arguing and they're trying to plead with the government as they're being pushed out. That alone, 30 seconds to a minute, if that would have been enough recognition to me to showcase the full complexity of the issue of the building of that place, because we know that Native American and Hispanic people were displaced when they made that. That would have been enough for me, and that would have brought this movie to be basically perfect if they did that. The fact that there's these scenes where Oppenheimer's having these visions of people being killed by the atom bomb, and the faces he sees is white faces, and there's not one Asian face or Japanese face amongst those that he's envisioning. That is real messed up to me, and I feel like those are things that if Christopher Nolan had some consulting on the script or at the shoots, those could have been rectified, and I think that the movie would have been perfect. Now, I think this movie's going to clean up at the Oscars, especially as different things get pushed away. There are some things that I think that Robert Downey Jr. is going to, based off of what I've seen so far. Now, of course, we got some other films to come, obviously, but I think Robert Downey Jr. is the best supporting role I've seen this year, and he's going to make a run for that. Cillian Murphy is definitely going to get nominated for Best Actor. Best Editing is going to get the Best Editing nomination. It's going to probably get sound mixing. It's probably going to get director. There's going to be probably, I'm guessing, 5 nominations minimal for Oppenheimer. But I can't get with it. I can't get jiggy with it because of those. It's missing a 90 seconds of difference in this film would have been huge for me in terms of my connection to this film. Great technical achievement. I probably will never watch it again because it's just going to always be in my back of my mind. It's like you had your chance to do something really interesting and in a really cool way, and you missed it. Likewise, Talk to Me is probably the best technical achievement in terms of horror this year. The horror is really, really solid. The story beats are really, really solid. I think that, and I enjoyed Talk to Me while I was watching it in the theater. It was really afterwards that I got uncomfortable with the way that the main character is portrayed as a black character who has been, who's kind of, I don't like the way they do their hair and makeup. I don't like the way that they're attached to addiction, things that seem kind of culturally and racially insensitive. Now, Talk to Me is written and directed by two YouTubers from Australia who may not understand that some of these stereotypes exist within America. I'm assuming that will give them the benefit of the doubt that they did, but that was distracting. It was always in my back of mind too. So, Oppenheimer was a 4.5 star movie for me. I think Talk to Me was a 4 star movie for me. They both got knocked a peg because of that. I actually probably could watch Talk to Me again and have a good time because it's the what's missing is not as distracting as what's missing in Oppenheimer. But I must say that these films should have been at the top of the list and they just weren't for me. So you almost had me. You almost got there. But some movies that did get there, they're knocking at the door as the top, the best movies of the summer. I just saw Bottoms a couple of days ago. Hilarious. This is coming from the same producers of Pitch Perfect and Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear was not as successful, but Pitch Perfect is one of my favorite kind of absurdist comedies that's out there. And this one takes it to the next level. This movie is so funny. It's so funny. The main characters are trying to basically, they start this fight club basically trying to win over chicks, and there's this LGBTQ story that's in the middle of it, but it doesn't feel like they're doing it just to do it for the sake of doing it, like just to be trendy. They actually make a really interesting story. What's more interesting to me than censoring lesbian voices specifically within this movie is the really great way that they are able to portray the mental development of teenagers. A lot of the things that the main two characters do make them very unlikable at times. And usually, these teen comedies, your main character, they maybe have one thing bad that they do, but for the most part, they're pretty likable. But they're just so sex crazed that they just don't. There's times that they're just not really that redeemable. They're played by Rachel Senow and which I've seen in other projects, in Ayo Edebiri. I don't know Ayo the way I should. It looks like she voiced the character in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, April, which I love. She's in The Bear. I don't watch The Bear, I'm sorry. I didn't see Theater Camp. So she's working. I'm just not as familiar with her projects. But both of those characters have very irredeeming qualities that you would see from a teenager that's very much into themselves, So I thought that was really well done. The fact that they make fun of teen comedies in general, in terms of like, why is the bell ringing after 5 seconds of being in the class? Like, what type of class is that? And I'm not gonna give away all the jokes, but they're really good. Wes Anderson, Asteroid City. I like this. This is one of my favorite Wes Anderson films. I thought it was really good. It's very Wes Anderson-y, but I never liked it better than The French Dispatch. I thought that the story of trying to figure out what's going on with these aliens while they're stuck in this place, and the children are trying to come of. It's just so many cool things going on, and the fact that they put it as like, I'm not going to give away. Well, Asteroid City's been out for a while. This is a light spoiler. The way that the movie is set up is that the Asteroid City, what we see with them in terms of being stuck in this city, Asteroid City, because of the aliens coming out, that's actually like a stage play. And there's a story happening outside of that stage play that's going on too. It's hit here and there. It's pretty interesting, I think. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles looks so cool. It's so cool to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as actually teenagers instead of being basically adults. The storyline is very teenagery. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gets really dark. The comics do. Some of the shows do. This definitely takes a lighter approach. It's produced by Nickelodeon. They're going to do a project over it, like a TV series over it. And I was with it. I thought Ice Cube was great. I think got the teenagers to voice every single one of the turtles was a right idea. I like No Hard Feelings way more than I thought thought I would, more than what I should have. Jennifer Lawrence is funny. She can be funny. I think that it's a film that I will revisit from time to time. And you heard my feelings. Um, Very low stakes movie, kind of in the same vein as like a Woody Allen film. It's probably the best I can say. It's like Woody Allen inspired, especially about this relationship between these two, this married couple, where this woman's trying to sell her book, and the book is not that great, and her husband lies to her, but then she catches her husband basically confiding in his brother-in-law about how he doesn't like the book, and her feelings is hurt about it. It is a story about when do you tell the truth when no white lie is acceptable, how do you be truthful and kind at the same time. It's a really cute, very small, low stakes. In fact, all of this stuff kind of got cleared up before the movie even ends, like 20 minutes before the movie ends. Very low stakes type of film. I liked it a lot. If the stakes were higher, maybe it would have been in the top five. Now, before I go to my top five of the summer, I'm putting They Clone Tyrone in its own category. And bear with me while I talk about this. They Clone Tyrone is so good. There are technical issues in terms of its pacing at the end of this film that knocks it down a peg and doesn't make it to my top five. But when I tell you the rewatchability of this film, I think what this film already means to African American communities in particular, and what it's going to continue to mean, that cannot be overstated. I think that this is going to be a classic. We call them certified hood classics around amongst my friends, or black people say that in general. I think black people are going to continue to embrace this film for years and years to come. Jamie Foxx has not been this good in terms of his comedic acting in quite some time. I mean, he has the perfect script and they let him cook. Not saying that he hasn't been good in other things, but this has just been the best he's been in quite some time. He went to a different level than what he's already at. John Boyega as the straight man in this film is great. Tiana Parrish on her comedy chops makes me even more excited for The Marvels, which seems to have a lot of comedy in it. There's so many things to like about this film. It gets its own status because, again, this is a movie that I was talking to some people who don't go to the movies that often. I want them to go to the theater more, but they've seen They Clone Tyrone 4 or 5 times already, and it just came out in July, right? So people are grasping and gravitating to this film, including me. I wouldn't mind watching it again tonight. It's just that good. If you have not seen They Clone Tyrone, you do not have to be black to love this movie. You may not get all of the different Afrofuturistic or the blaxploitation vibes of this film. You may not get some of the conspiracy theory type stuff that's going on in this film. You may not understand some of the references in terms of what it means to be from a neighborhood like this, or having somebody from a neighborhood like this. Those pieces make this movie richer. But even without that, the acting and the directing is so good, you will enjoy this film. Go see They Clone Tyrone. Well, not right now, finish the show. But then after that, please check it out. These are in order. My top 5 films of the summer. This is the best of the best. And I think really outside of Top Gun Maverick, might have been able to crack this list last year. Let me go to 2022 real quick. I keep a log of all my films I watch. 2022 for the summer. Barbarian came out in September, so that wouldn't count. Um, I think it really, maybe the Black Phone would have made this list. Top Gun may have made this list just because it was so different, but these films are just great. Starting with number 5, Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. People, because it came out early May, people forget how good this film is. I just rewatched part of it with my wife who had not seen the film yet on Disney Plus, and this film is just so good. It's going to be, I think it's probably a top 4, top 5 Marvel MCU film period for me. And that's including the Winter Soldiers and the Endgames and the Black Panthers of the world. This film is right up there with them. I think that it was an amazing way to end the arc of this team together. Rocket's story is the most tragic in all of Marvel, but the way that it wraps up is so satisfying. Peter Quill, with played by Chris Pratt. I mean, all these characters you just come to find there's satisfaction in everything you see on screen. I wish that they would come back, but they won't. At least most of them won't. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, amazing. Mission Impossible should have made way more money than what it did. Now, you guys know I'm a Mission Impossible stan. It's right there. It's right there. Mission Impossible. It's my favorite action franchise of all time. I love these films, especially a series that gets better and better and better. I would say that Mission Impossible 1 is way better than 2 and 3. But then after really 2, it just continues to crescendo up, 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 up. They continue to raise the stakes. Tom Cruise is completely bananas for these stunts that he's doing. And the movie bombed because it came out the week before Barbie and Oppenheimer. And the way that they social media really promoted Barbie and Oppenheimer, the way that the two movies promoted Barbie and Oppenheimer, and the way that screens weren't really available in terms of your Prime theaters or your IMAX theaters weren't really available for Mission Impossible for as long as it should have been. Mission Impossible got squeezed out. I thought that Oppenheimer would be the biggest flop of the summer, but that kind of belongs to Mission Impossible and to Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. Those two are the films that I thought would do really good business and just did not work whatsoever for audiences to go see it. Now, Mission Impossible does have a long time, but so does Oppenheimer too. And Oppenheimer's, I think, is at $800 million worldwide right now. Mission Impossible isn't going to get anywhere close to that. And that just does not make sense. Either way, Dead Reckoning Part 1 was great. We're going to get a Dead Reckoning Part 2 regardless, because in Cruise we trust. Just because they had a film that was ill-timed does not mean the next film is not going to be great. If you have not seen Mission Impossible, I just saw it at my local theater. They just re-released it. Go see it on the big screen. You mark my words. This is something you want to see in the theater. It's like all these films. Barbie's still out. Barbie, the $1 billion film, the $1 billion franchise. What more can you say? I bought a I Am a Knuff sweatshirt, which is on back order. Who knows when it's going to get to me? Maybe it'll get to me before Halloween. That would be pretty cool. I don't know, but I really like Barbie way more than love Barbie way more than I thought it would. Now, there's a lot of debates between people who feel like, is this movie empowering for women, or should have even attempted to be empowering for women, since Barbie is not an empowering figure and exploitative and consumerism and all those different things. There's different branches of feminist thought on that I see in terms of the writing. I'm going to leave that to people who know better than I do. I can only react the way that I can react. And I can tell you that this movie is funny. This movie is entertaining. This movie is well acted. I said earlier that Robert Downey Jr. is a shoe-in for Best Supporting Actor right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Gosling got up there. for a nomination if they wanted to put him in the best supporting. I mean, he's definitely going to win the Golden Globe because he's going to be in the comedy slash musical category. That's that. You can chalk that up. That is his award, best supporting actor for comedy or musical at the Golden Globe. I can see him making an Oscar run. I don't know. I can see Margot Robbie getting nominated for this too, because I think that they're that good in this film. The movie that came out of nowhere for me, my number two movie, and it was almost my number one. I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on this, guys. Believe me when I tell you, Past Lives, which is a romance, romantic drama is probably the best way I can describe it. A film that I had no idea was going to hit me in the gut the way that it did, in terms of this endearment of two characters, the responsibility of one character's marriage, in terms of not pursuing something that could have been, the acceptance of the fates as they're played, the challenging of that fate at different points in time. It's just such a lovely movie. Celine Dion did her thing, not the singer, but the actual director did her thing in directing this film. I love the actress, and once again, this is summer, so saying something that's going to get an Oscar nomination or any type of nomination this early is really bold, but I think that Greta Lee is her name. Greta Lee is my between Greta Lee and Tiana Taylor. Those are probably my favorite female performances that I've seen this year. I've seen, I think, up to 75, 76 films this year, so I've seen a lot of stuff. I've missed some of the smaller films, and there's going to be even smaller films that are going to come out in the fall that might crowd them out. Tiana Taylor, I can see them also dismissing because she has some movies, like she was in that new White Man Can't Jump remake that is just atrocious from what I hear. Who knows? But Tiana Taylor and Greta Lee, those are my two nominations for that category right now. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my number one. You knew it was going to be. I saw this movie 4 times in theaters. The way that they took the animation of the first one and took it up at about 50% of 50%. The depth of character development Miles Morales gets, the Gwen Stacy art, the fact that Ben Riley has just completely lost. If you could hear my baby crying, I apologize for that. But things happen. Babies gotta cry. But so many great things happen in this movie. I can't say enough about it. It is out on. I think you can stream it on Prime now. I don't think it's anywhere else. It's not in any theaters near me anymore, unfortunately. But if you have not seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, what hole have you been living it under? I was surprised that I thought it made more money than what it did, but it didn't. I think it's because it was banned in a couple of different places because of some LGBT underlying inferences that are happening within this film. But it should, either way, this movie is excellent. I can't wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse and what's going to be introduced there. So, I have gone through 35 movies with you, my journey into summer 2023. One of my favorite summer movie seasons in recent memory, long-term memory, actually. I don't think I've had this much fun at the theater in one given summer since I was in college. The more I think about it, there's just so many good things that came out this year. And it really makes me excited for the fall. I will say this. Studios, you've got to get your lives together. Getting Dune Part 2 pushed back still hurts my soul because y'all won't do what's right for these writers and for these actors. And it's right. They're not asking for anything but what they deserve. And you are trying to get over on them. They're not going to break. I don't want them to break. But man, it hurts my heart that our fall season continues to thin out as movies gets pushed. And I'm really, really not looking forward to the delay in really great films to come. fall 2024, 2025 are going to feel the ripple effects of this. And the studios, you're biting yourself in the foot if you think that this is going to hurt you or help you. It's not. You're going to have to give these people what they deserve, and you're losing money because you decided to lose money, not because of anything that they did. Stop going releasing these press releases trying to make these unions look bad. We can read. We can look up what they're asking for. We can look up for what you said, and we know it's bullshit. So get it together. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for the summer journey you've going on with me. I'll do a fall preview next week. We'll talk about what's coming out this fall and this winter, what I'm excited for, what I'm not excited for, get you up on the news. We'll go over. I didn't do the box office breakdown this show because I knew it was going to be a long show, but that'll come back next week as well. Thank you, and I'll see you at the theaters next week.